The center position has long been the backbone of basketball, from towering giants who dominate the paint to skilled big men who redefine the game. Centers have been the driving force behind many of the greatest teams in NBA history. Think of the legends: Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points in a single game, Bill Russell leading the Celtics to 11 championships, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar perfecting the skyhook, Shaquille O'Neal overpowering defenders, and more recently, Nikola Jokic redefining the position with his passing wizardry. But the question remains, who are the greatest centers of all time? Rankings like this always spark debates, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did we get it right? Should someone be higher or lower? Here's the top 10, let's break it all down together. Bill Walton is easily the most controversial name on this list, and that's because his career was cut short by injuries. But if we're talking about peak performance, very few could match what Walton brought to the game. Before stepping into the NBA, he was already a legend at UCLA under coach John Wooden, leading the Bruins to 2 national championships and earning 3 National College Player of the Year awards. When the Portland Trailblazers selected him with the first overall pick in 1974, Walton lived up to expectations when healthy. His peak came in 1977, leading the Blazers to an NBA championship, winning Finals MVP, and completely dominating the playoffs with his defense, passing, and rebounding. The next season, he was named NBA MVP, but then the injuries piled up. Foot problems derailed his career, limiting his time on the court. However, he had one final resurgence with the 1986 Boston Celtics, winning 6th Man of the Year and securing his second NBA title. His legacy is complicated. If healthy, many believe he could have been a top 5 center of all time. But even with his shortened career, his impact on the game was undeniable. Next up, Patrick Ewing, the undisputed face of the New York Knicks for nearly 2 decades. Ewing was a force, a dominant scorer, a tenacious defender, and one of the best mid-range shooting big men of all time. His footwork was elite, and his ability to knock down jumpers made him a unique in an era of low-post bruisers. However, Ewing's career is often overshadowed by one thing: never winning a championship. He came painfully close in 1994, leading the Knicks to the NBA Finals against Hakeem Olajuwon's Houston Rockets. But Olajuwon got the better of him, and the Knicks fell short in a grueling 7-game series. Despite that, Ewing's legacy is secure. He ranks 7th all-time in blocks, 12th in defensive rebounds, and 25th in total points scored. The man was an absolute beast and the heart and soul of New York basketball. Now, this might be the most controversial ranking because Nikola Jokic's career isn't finished yet, but let's be real, he's already one of the most skilled centers in NBA history. Jokic has redefined the center position. In the past, big men were expected to dominate in the paint, block shots, and grab rebounds. Jokic does all of that, but he also runs the offense as Denver's primary playmaker. His passing ability is legendary, making full-court outlet passes, threading impossible assists, and running the Nuggets offense like a point guard. Add in his soft touch around the rim, his rebounding, and his clutch shot making, and you have a truly one-of-a-kind player. In 2023, Jokic proved all the doubters wrong, leading Denver to their first NBA championship, winning Finals MVP, and putting up absurd playoff numbers: 30 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 9.5 assists per game. With more years left in his prime, there's a chance he ends up even higher on this list when it's all said and done, and let's be honest, that outcome is very likely. David Robinson wasn't just an elite center, he was one of the most complete athletes to ever play in the NBA. A two-time NBA champion, one-time MVP, and a Defensive Player of the Year, Robinson was dominant on both ends of the court. What makes his story even more interesting is that even before entering the NBA, he served 2 years in the US Navy, hence the nickname the Admiral. He led the league in scoring in 1993-94, rebounds in 1990-91, and blocks in 91-92 within his first 5 seasons. That's dominance. Later in his career, he teamed up with Tim Duncan, forming one of the best big man duos ever, leading the San Antonio Spurs to 2 championships in 1999 and 2003. Moses Malone is one of the most underrated players in NBA history. Despite being a 3-time MVP and one of the most dominant rebounders ever, his name doesn't get mentioned as often as it should. Nicknamed the chairman of the boards, Malone's ability to grab offensive rebounds and create second chance points was nearly unstoppable. He led the league in rebounding 6 times and finished his career with more than 17,000 rebounds, which equals 3rd all time. But what truly cements his greatness is the 1983 NBA season. He led the Philadelphia 76ers to a championship, predicting a dominant playoff run with his famous faux statement, meaning he expected the Sixers to sweep every round. They didn't quite go undefeated, but only lost 1 game, securing one of the most dominant title runs ever. Malone was tough, durable, and a relentless worker. While he didn't have the flashy style of Shaq or Hakeem, his impact on the game was undeniable. Wilt Chamberlain's numbers seem too insane to be real. 100 points in a single game, 50.4 points per game in a season, 55 rebounds in a single game, average 48.5 minutes per game in a season. Those aren't typos, Wilt actually did all of that. He was a one-man wrecking crew, physically unmatched in his era. Standing at 7'1" with insane athleticism, Wilt could run, jump, and overpower anyone in his path. Yet, for all his dominance, his critics often point out his lack of championships. Despite his godly stats, he only won 2 titles, one with the 1967 Philadelphia 76ers and another with the 1972 Lakers. However, if we're ranking purely on individual dominance, Wilt would probably be number 1. The debate is whether winning should outweigh stats. Regardless, Wilt's legacy as the most dominant statistical force in history is absolutely secure. If this list was purely based on winning, Bill Russell would be number 1, no question. 11 NBA championships in 13 seasons. That's more than any player in history. Russell wasn't the flashiest scorer, he never averaged more than 18.9 points per game, but he was the greatest defensive leader ever. His shot blocking, rebounding, and ability to anchor a defense made him the heart of the Boston Celtics dynasty. His most iconic moment, you might wonder, the 1962 NBA Finals, where he pulled down a ridiculous 40 rebounds in Game 7 to lead the Celtics past the Lakers. People criticize him for playing in an era with fewer teams and shorter players, but you can only dominate who's in front of you, and Russell did that better than anyone. His impact went beyond the court as well. As the first black head coach in NBA history, he was a pioneer for the game. If we're talking about pure skill, no center in NBA history was smoother than Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. His footwork was like a guard, and his patented dream shake made even the best defenders look foolish. Hakeem wasn't just about finesse though, he was also a defensive monster, ranking 1st all time in block shots. His peak came in the 1994 and 1995 seasons when he led the Houston Rockets to back-to-back NBA titles. In 94, he won MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP in the same season, a feat only Michael Jordan has matched. And in 95, he completely outclassed Shaquille O'Neal in the finals, proving why he belongs among the greatest. Shaquille O'Neal was a cheat code. At 7'1" and 325 pounds, Shaq was too big, too strong, and too fast for anyone to handle. Defenders had zero chance once he got the ball deep in the post. His dominance peaked in the 2000 to 2002 Lakers dynasty, where he led the Lakers to 3 straight championships, winning 3 straight finals MVPs, something only Michael Jordan had done before. His 2000 season was arguably the most dominant ever, averaging 29.7 points, 13.6 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game, and winning MVP, All-Star Game MVP, and Finals MVP in the same year. While Shaq's free throw shooting was a weakness, it really didn't matter. His dominance was unmatched, and that's why he's one of the greatest to ever play. At number 1, we have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the NBA's all-time leading scorer for nearly 4 decades. Kareem's skyhook was the most unstoppable shot in basketball history. No one, not even the best defenders, could block it. His 6 MVPs are the most in NBA history. His 6 championships cement him as one of the greatest winners ever. And his longevity, playing 20 years and dominating from start to finish, is absolutely legendary. From his days with the Milwaukee Bucks, where he won his first MVP and championship in 1971, to his dominant Lakers years alongside Magic Johnson in the Showtime era, Kareem redefined what it meant to be a big man. He wasn't just great, he was consistently great for 2 decades. So there you have it, the top 10 centers in NBA history. Do you guys agree with the list? Should Wilt move higher? And where do you think Jokic will ultimately end up when it's all said and done? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more upcoming videos and NBA content. My name is Damian Peters, this is Basketball Network. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.